Welcome. I am the collector of encounters. Today's encounter starts with a knock on the door.
I had just moved into my apartment when someone knocked on the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. The smell of fresh paint hung in the air, and cardboard boxes lined the living room wall waiting to be emptied. I was still processing the loss of my fiancé, Adam, 6 months prior to the move. Accidental drowning, the report said, but it felt like the police were keeping something from me. The knock came again, jolting me out of my thoughts. The man at the door introduced himself as Trevor Lawrence, my neighbor from 2 doors down. He smiled and shook my hand, welcoming me to the building. I didn't really feel like socializing, but I sighed and donned a polite smile. After some small talk, Trevor left. I spent the rest of the night hanging curtains and unpacking endless boxes. I was making some progress. Unfortunately, a box labeled Adam triggered an emotional breakdown, causing me to fall asleep in tears, clinging to one of his shirts. The next morning, I woke up feeling a little better. But I needed my morning tea. I set a kettle of water on the stove and grabbed a cup from a box. Just then, there was another knock at my door. I crept up to the door to look into the peephole. It was Trevor. I sighed. "You've got to be kidding me." "I can see your shadow under the door," Trevor said from the other side. I took a breath and opened the door with a fake smile planted on my face. "Hey, Trevor." He held up a bag from Cece's bakery. It smelled amazing. "I wasn't sure if you had time to do any grocery shopping yet, so I brought you some breakfast. Hope you like blueberry muffins." "Thank you," I said, setting the bag on the counter. We stood there in an uncomfortable silence for a moment. A sharp whistle cut through the room. The teapot. "Peppermint tea?" I asked, pulling out another cup. "It's my favorite." He smiled and took the cup from my hands. "Got any raw sugar?" A few days later, I saw Trevor while I was collecting my mail. He came up from behind and tapped me on the shoulder. It startled me and I turned around, holding back a yelp. He was holding a grocery bag. "I didn't mean to scare you," he said, grabbing his mail. "Oh, I got you something." He handed me a small burlap sack from the grocery bag. It was labeled raw organic sugar. "What's this for?" I asked, holding the bag like it may bite. He chuckled. "For tea. I got you some raw sugar for your place, and I got a box of peppermint tea for my place. You got me hooked on the stuff." It was weird, I must say, but I thanked him and headed to my apartment. I set it on my kitchen counter and pushed it into the dark corner. I had the next day off from work. I finished unpacking my stuff, placing Adam's photo on the table near the couch. I grabbed a load of laundry and headed to the basement. I hadn't been to the laundry room since I moved in. I saw it briefly on a tour of the place months ago. I got in the elevator and pressed the button for the basement. "Hold the elevator," a voice called out. It was Trevor. He was also carrying a basket of clothes. "Oh hey, it's you," he said. "Laundry?" He shook a basket of towels at me. I only nodded. The doors closed and we stood quietly, watching the numbers descend. The basement level was surprisingly clean and cheery. The laundry room was bright and fresh with plenty of machines. All of them working. Trevor must have seen the look of awe on my face. "It's nice, right?" He laughed, then started a machine. "They recently cleaned this place up. Got rid of the mice. Got all new stuff." He tossed in a laundry pod. "They made this place safer." "Wow," I said, truly impressed. It did not look like this when I toured the place. We both laughed. His smile was genuine, good-hearted. There was something in his eyes that told me he may be catching feelings. I must admit, I felt a little something too. We exchanged numbers. Just as neighbors. I spent that Friday night as I usually do on the couch. TV on something, anything, and my soul lost in social media on my phone. A text notification popped up. Trevor had way too much Chinese takeout and wanted to come over. My finger hovered over my phone for a minute, then typed, "Sure. Sounds good." I looked at the picture of Adam, then pushed send. He brought the food over and we spent some time talking and laughing. When we had finished eating, Trevor asked if we were having tea, boasting that he drank it nightly now. I put the kettle on the stove and told Trevor to have a seat in the living room. I prepared a tray. Cups, spoons, and even a dish of his organic sugar. He was sitting on the couch, casually scanning the room when I entered. He smiled as I set down the tray. This man scooped. And when I say scooped, I mean shoveled. He shoveled that sugar into his cup. He stirred the sludge and took a drink, giving me the thumbs up. After forcing another drink, he set the cup on the table, next to Adam's picture. He stared at it for a minute, with an expression I couldn't read. Is this your boyfriend? I don't think I've seen him around yet. His once happy tone shifting. Yes, I said after a brief pause. He was actually my fiancé. Was? He said, gulping tea. His hand seemed unsteady. He passed away last summer, just a week after he proposed. Saying the words out loud was still difficult, and tears began to well in my eyes. He stood quickly, almost spilling his cup. I am so sorry. I didn't mean to. His voice trailed off. I better go. Thanks for the tea. He forced a smile and left. I didn't stop him. Almost a week went by and I didn't see Trevor at all. I was beginning to think he moved out, but a text saying, "Can we talk?" popped up. It seemed a little dramatic, but I was ready to see where this was going. Later that night, I grabbed a pack of cookies and knocked on his door. He opened the door with a smile that didn't meet his eyes. I held up the cookies. These go great with peppermint tea. He stepped back and let me in. Trevor's apartment was nothing special. The living room consisted of an old couch and beat-up coffee table. He, of course, had a giant TV and multiple gaming systems. The kitchen area had a small folding table with 2 folding chairs. It screamed single guy. He pulled a pot from the cupboard and filled it with water. I don't have a fancy tea kettle, so this will have to do. He excused himself to change out of his work clothes, asking me if I could prepare the tea. Then he disappeared down the hallway. I filled the mugs and reached for his box of peppermint tea. The box hadn't even been opened yet. He told me he was hooked on the stuff. That prick lied to me. I whispered, snapping open the box. The steaming cups of tea were ready when Trevor finally returned from the bedroom, wearing comfy sweats and a t-shirt. Of course, he grabbed that stupid sack of raw sugar off the counter. He sat at the table, spooning in so much sugar. I thought I was going to gag. I took a few sips of mine. I guess I'm not used to this brand, I said. It has a bit of a bite to it. He took a swig of his and winced. Yeah, nothing a little more sugar can't fix. He added another heaping spoonful to his cup, gave it a quick stir and gulped the rest down. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be impressed or what. Plus, that tea was hot. I let him recover for a minute before I spoke. Trevor, what's going on? He bowed his head and sighed deeply. Adam, he said, stirring his empty cup. I grew up with Adam. He was like a brother to me. My fiancé? I asked, setting my cup down. He slammed his fist on the table, startling me. Fiancé? More like ex-boyfriend. He was going to break up with you, not marry you. I could see the rage building in Trevor. He called me the night before he passed, said he had enough. Then he winds up dead. Accidental drowning. His face hardened. I lived in another state, and you and I had never met in person. So, those idiot cops wouldn't listen to me. But I know. You did it. I bet you played the perfect grieving fake fiancé. His breathing turned heavy, and he was beginning to sweat. He sat down, wiping his forehead with a paper napkin. I stayed quiet as he continued to speak. But as fate may have it, you moved here and unknowingly delivered yourself right to me. You need to go to prison, and this time I have the proof. He pulled a blue post-it note from his shirt pocket and slammed it down in front of me. I picked it up. Scribbled on the note were the words, "She's crazy. I'm leaving her. This is your damning evidence." I laughed and let the post-it flutter to the floor. Even if you can prove it's his writing, that note could be about anyone. He stood, trying to compose himself. We'll let the police decide. I called them when I went in my room. Then he blocked the doorway so I couldn't leave. I blew on my cup and sipped my tea. Your ploy to lure me into some kind of recorded confession is not going to work. Just shut up until the cops get here. They'll get you to talk. That's when he started to cough. Oh yeah, the police, what's taking them so long? I feigned concern. You don't look so good. Maybe you should call them back and get an ambulance too. I laughed out loud. He started to say something, but stumbled a bit, coughing more violently. I handed him another napkin and continued to speak. You and I may have never met, but Adam told me all about you. He even showed me a picture of you two at some concert. You had that ridiculous mullet. You knew who I was? He said, wheezing and gasping. Of course, you moron. I moved to this dump to tie up a loose end. You were going to help Adam leave. Now it was my turn to be angry. More like escape you, you crazy bitch. He tried to lunge at me, but he started coughing again, this time spitting blood into the napkin. Panic filled his eyes. What the hell? He managed to say. His eyes grew wide, and he dropped down into a chair, coughing and gagging. I laughed again. He gasped. What? What did you do? Me? I asked in my best innocent voice. Well, I didn't do anything. I pulled a small burlap bag from my purse. It was labeled raw rodent poison. I set it next to the bag of raw sugar. But you? Yeah, you bought raw sugar in that cute little designer burlap bag. Unfortunately, the rat poison is in a similar burlap bag. And, oops, you mixed them up. Since the rat poison is mint-scented, you drank it. And why wouldn't you? It smelled just like peppermint tea. Terror spread across Trevor's face. You poisoned me. He fell to the floor, unable to stand any longer. I know you didn't call the police, Trevor. My voice was calm. Your phone has been sitting on the arm of the couch the whole time. I stood and washed my cup in the sink. He reached for me, unable to speak, his eyes pleading. I stepped over him, then bent down, whispering in his ear. In a few days, they will find you. And I will play the perfect shocked and horrified neighbor. As Trevor began to fade away, I opened the door to leave. I turned back and smiled. It was so nice to meet you in person. Oh, and say hi to Adam for me.
He came looking for the truth, and found it. Not all answers bring peace, dear listener. Some come with a price. I have collected my fee. Now tell me, what have you encountered?